Good morning. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabbar here with Jared Smith, and it is a Tuesday. It is a Taco Tuesday, if you want to be specific, and it is the day that we enter Week 16 of the NFL football season. Gerard, how are
Wow.
we today? Yeah,
I'm okay. I bought this new shirt and I'm Hartford Whalers, very excited to talk NHL today.
love
But the
it.
collar is all like, when you buy one of those shirts and the collar just like isn't like flat and nice and neat. Like that's why I feel very disheveled in this collar. So mind the collar, but the shirt itself is fire. Fire.
I can honestly tell you, I've never had like a shirt that I put on. I'm like, oh, this collar is weird. I feel like that's a dude thing,
Well,
isn't it?
it's definitely dude problem. Look, girls look good when they wear like things that look disheveled because it's like, oh, the messy
Yeah,
look. It's cute. With
it's the
guys,
messy
it's
look.
it's
It's stylish.
it's
It's
not a good
in.
look. It's not a good
Yeah.
look.
Yeah.
It's okay though.
So sorry
We
about
move
that,
on.
but it is a really, really cool t-shirt. And
Thank
you want
you.
to know what else is
I wore it
cool? Is the
specifically
fact
for
that we
today.
both you want to know what else is cool? The fact that we both hit our Packers bet yesterday. Packers laying
We did.
the 7 points because the Baker magic, as you predicted last week that he had in last week's game for the Rams, came to an end in Monday Night Football. The Packers, they sacked him 5 times. They won 24-12, and Mayfield threw for just 111 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Aaron Rodgers has basically now won 9 straight. Well, he hasn't basically. He has won 9 straight Monday Night Football games. He's basically won. No, he has won nine
Basically.
straight Monday Night Football games.
He is
And
pretty
for some
basic this
reason,
season.
yeah, this is the one and only time I will bet the Packers this season because it was the only game that was on. I needed to bet it.
We'll see.
They're still
We'll see.
frauds, but I don't know how. They still have a 7% chance at this point to make the postseason. Although slim, there's still a chance for the Packers to possibly make it. What did you make of that game last night?
Basically everything we expected. Um, that was about as, I don't want to say like rocking chair of a cover for the Packers because there were a few moments in that game that I thought maybe the back door was open. Couple of fluky turnovers, and there was a
Mm-hmm.
weird play towards the end of the game where Aaron Rodgers made a throw, and it looked like it was actually, sorry, it was a run. It was a run, and Aaron Jones, it was like a crazy fumble. Jalen Ramsey like ripped it away, and there was a penalty. There were some plays in the second half where I was like, maybe the back door's open. But I would
Mm-hmm.
say for about 90% of the game, in my
Yeah.
mind, I was like, yeah, Packers are going to cover this, no problem, because Baker never really sniffed the end zone until very late, and his numbers were pretty poor. And I thought last week he played better than maybe some people think. Like I know like the perception was so bad on him, and he played okay. I thought he played well enough to win that game last week. Made some throws in the
Yeah.
first half and the second half. This week there was none of those. There was only like one or two throws where I was like, oh wow, that looks like a decent throw. That looks like a good play. And you could just tell the Packers really got into him. They brought 5 and 6 in the box a lot and rushed him pretty heavily and blitzed
Yeah.
him a lot. So it was a pretty good defensive performance by the Packers. And Baker in the coldest game in his recent history, didn't play well. And Aaron Rodgers did play well enough to win and cover. So good for Aaron, good for the Packers, good for our bets.
Yeah, good for our bank accounts, which you
Good for
love
our
to
bets.
see. And for Mayfield, I mean, for Baker, like the jury's still out at this point because 2 weeks into your job, Jared, how good were you? That's how I feel. I was really bad at my job 2 weeks in, you know? Maybe give him
I'm
a little
still
bit
bad
more
at my
time.
job. 15
Nah,
years
we're
in.
good. You're good.
Eh.
Nah. But Baker still, I know the Rams aren't playing for anything, but Baker is still playing to get a starting spot on a team next season, and that's what he's playing for. But last night did not look necessarily like that, even though his O-line didn't really protect him very much. He looked under duress most of the game. 5 sacks. I mean, you're not going to do much. And in cold weather, whatever. But we all feel good about the Packers win. As we get into our stock up and stock down, let's talk about the AFC for a second. AFC North, to be specific. The Bengals right now. And I know that you're going to put money on this. The Bengals to win the Super Bowl is at plus 750 at this point. You told me last week that right now you think the Bengals are a team that can win the Super Bowl this year, and you think they will win the Super Bowl.
16-1, sitting in my back pocket right now. Feels great. Um, I was really hoping that the Dolphins pulled off that upset over
Yeah.
the Bills, because that would have made the AFC road, and the Texans, frankly. Like I honestly thought all the stars were aligning for the Bengals on Sunday to get that number 1 seed, or Saturday, Sunday, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then Patrick Mahomes happened. And listen, I know that game was close against the Chiefs, but let's be honest, Patrick Mahomes was unbelievable. Like, he's the MVP of the league. And that's, I don't care how close. I don't care if they didn't cover. Patrick Mahomes
Literally.
is the MVP of the league, and that's like the Texans. The Texans are fighting, like, and again, I know they didn't cover the game, but that was a very impressive performance by Patrick Mahomes, and it was a
No.
very impressive performance by Josh Allen. Like, the quarterback play in this league is at an unbelievable level right now. But that's what I like a lot about the Bengals. The Bengals are a team, and Lou Anarumo on the defensive job, like, they have the best defense of those AFC contenders. I think their defense is playing better than the Bills. I think their defense is playing obviously better than the Chiefs. And they have the pedigree, right? Like, they've been to the top of the mountain. I know Patrick does too, but the defense understands what it's like to get a key stop in a key moment, whereas the Chiefs and the Bills right now are kind of relying on their quarterbacks a lot to make the play, to be the hero, whereas the Bengals, I think, are more of a total package. So that number has been sucked. The value's been sucked out. But yeah, I still think they're the best team nose to toes right now in the AFC. The other quarterbacks might be playing better than Joe Burrow, but I don't think those other two teams, Chiefs and Bills, have the full 53 lined up like Cincinnati does.
Well, you look at guys like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, like, they're on another tier than Joe Burrow is. And I don't think anyone's necessarily expecting Joe Burrow to be at that tier right now. I mean, Patrick Mahomes went 20 of 20 in his last 20 passes in that game against the Texans to 6 different receivers to win that game. 100% completion rate in his last 20 passes of the game to win that game. Like, that's just unheard of by any quarterback right now. But you look at the Bengals. I mean, how many game win streak are they on right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-game win streak?
And I think they're 22-3 against the spread. No, sorry, 19-3 against the spread over their last 22. I mean, if you literally didn't do any research, didn't watch our show every week, don't do that, please watch, and you just woke up every Sunday and bet the Bengals, you're a rich man or woman over the last couple of years. Like, that's really as simple as it is. Like, just wake up every week, bet the Bengals, and you're probably going to win 19 out of the last 22 bets. Pretty remarkable.
Yeah, just kidding. It's a 6-game win streak, but they won 8 of the last 9 games. They did have that one loss to the Browns back on October 31st. So, but the way that they've been playing, they've been decent. They've been decent. Let's talk about the Chargers for a second, because they came on out this past weekend and they served the Titans their 4th straight loss, which is crazy. The Chargers to win the Super Bowl at this point is 14-1. Would you feel confident putting money on that? I sure would not, just because the Chargers always end up charging, but it is a good number.
It is, and I think that's an AFC number. Yeah, that's an AFC number. Because 14-1 to win the Super Bowl would be ridiculous. That would. There's no chance I would ever bet that.
Who's typing in our rundown?
It's okay. It's been a rough morning, I guess. Yeah. Chargers 14-1 to win the AFC. I think at this point, there's really no team that I feel good about betting on to win the big kahuna, one of the big kahunas, right? Conference or Super Bowl, than the top 3. Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Dallas. That's really it, guys. Honestly. I don't want to go out on a limb and say, let's just go to the AFC Championship game right now with 2 out of 3 of those teams in each conference. But that's kind of how I feel about the playoff picture this year. There's a shitload of mediocrity in the NFL. Now, could one of those mediocre teams all of a sudden wake up the last 3 weeks of the season and into the postseason and get hot? Sure. We've seen it happen before. Happened to the Giants in 2007. They were the last team in, got hot, went to Tampa, won, went to Dallas, won, went to Green Bay. Tom Coughlin's face almost froze off, won. Fluky things can happen, absolutely. But let's get to the playoffs. Let's see the bracket. Let's see how the teams are playing at that point in time. Today, on December 20th, I only view 6 teams as championship teams, 3 in each conference. That's it. And I'm kind of up and down on Philly now because of the Jalen Hurts thing, which I'm sure we'll get to in a minute.
Mm-hmm. Let's take it to the NFC. Right now, the Lions. I need to talk about them because after starting the season 1-6, this team is 7-7. They are 6-1 in their last 7 games, and their only losses to the Bills narrowly on Thanksgiving. For them to win the NFC right now, it's 25-1 odds. I don't think I'd feel confident in placing bet for them to win the NFC, but I definitely would still feel confident making a bet for them to make the postseason at this point. How do you feel?
Yeah. I think with the way that they're playing, and again, the mediocrity and parity in the league, that's a very fair bet to make. But I'll be honest though, like you saw, and great win. I don't want to take anything away from that win. Tip of the cap, 4th and 1. Ben Johnson had the perfect play call, scored the touchdown, and then they held on for dear life at the end and missed field goal, and they win the game. Like, great win. But the Lions were offense was held in check in that game. They scored a special teams touchdown, and they drew up a great play on 4th and 1. But they were held to 6 points basically on offense for the majority of that game. The Jets defense was fantastic. So when they play a defense like that, i.e. San Francisco or someone like that, like they're not going to have a lot of success on offense, and they're going to need their defense to step up. And they're not going to be facing Zach Wilson, who was all over the place. I mean, he was just a freaking disaster in that game. He had a few flashes of brilliance, but for the most part was really inconsistent. But I do think the Lions, because of their schedule, if they can get past Carolina this week, and because of what the rest of the NFC looks like, they're probably going to make the playoffs. And that's fun because you get these 3 teams in the NFC East, Dallas and the Giants did you guys a big favor and winning that game because Washington seems to be kind of on the dip. Seattle's on the dip. I mean, it's all kind of coming up roses for Detroit right now with the other results in the NFC. So I would not make the bet to win the NFC, but sure, make the playoffs. Yeah, absolutely.
Make the playoffs for sure. The other team that we're looking at is the Cowboys right now to possibly win the Super Bowl. I don't feel confident with Dak Prescott under center to bet them at 11-1 to win the Super Bowl, but it does open up a little bit of a spot, in the NFC East with Jalen Hurts having his shoulder sprain now. He's probably going to miss 2 weeks at this point is what they're saying. Obviously, we don't know 100% what that looks like, but would you feel confident maybe the Cowboys to win their division in the NFC East with no Jalen Hurts under center for the Eagles?
Cowboys are an interesting case right now. Metrically, and let's operate in a vacuum for a minute, because once Jalen Hurts, once that news broke, the line went to, the line got steamed up to 6, and it's probably going to touch close to 7, I think. But even before, like even with Jalen Hurts playing in the game, and we gave this out on the Early Birds column Sunday night, the Cowboys were still a home favorite by about 1.5 to 2 points against the Eagles. And again, Dallas's home field is one of the lesser home fields in the NFL. So it'll be on the lower end of the 1.5 to 2 point home field advantage spectrum. So even with Jalen Hurts in the lineup, some of the sharper books were telling you that Dallas and Philly were basically dead even on a neutral. So Dallas metrically is pretty good, like probably a top 5 team. But then you said it, like, do we trust Dak? They're a little wonky. They blow leads. The Jacksonville game on Sunday was it was like a snowball effect. Like once the Jaguars got rolling late their quarter, like Dallas couldn't make that one play that championship teams make to win it. So that's what scares me about the Cowboys. They don't have that pedigree, unlike the Bengals. Like, honestly, they're like, it's kind of ironic how yin and yang they are. Dallas has all the talent in the world, but the intestinal fortitude of like a pebble, whereas the Bengals, talent-wise, not as high on the list, but stone cold balls, like just absolute stone cold. So it's like they're such different teams, but Dallas is still being priced right now as a champion, and I don't see it, but the number's not bad considering Philly's weakness. That number's not terrible. But I don't see, when I close my eyes and view the Super Bowl Lombardi trophy being handed out, like I don't see Dak Prescott on the podium. That's just not how I feel it.
I definitely don't too. I definitely don't either. And that's why I would not make that bet. But 3 weeks left in the regular season for NFL. It's going to be interesting to see how things shake up, including the wild card race and postseason activity, what happens there. All right, let's take it to the ice. Bring in our guy, Nick Alberga, at the Golden Muzzy on Twitter, host of Leafs Morning Take on the Nation Network and writer for the Leafs Nation and Daily Faceoff Fantasy. He's also the co-host, Nick, how are you, of NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast, and a good friend of mine. Glad to have you on the show. How are you today?
My pleasure. I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
Good. It's a Tuesday. We're having fun. We're talking NFL, and now we're talking NHL, which I'm so excited to get into. I'll save the Rangers question, Jared, for you, because they're on a 7-game win streak. They play the Pens tonight. It's going to be a fun matchup. But I want to ask you about the Avalanche, because obviously they're one of the most banged up teams in the National Hockey League. They've played basically the most amount of players that you could play out of any team in the NHL at this point of the season. Are they going to return to form when they are 100% healthy?
Well, firstly, I love how books have reacted, haven't reacted, I should say, at all to Colorado's decimation with injury, right? From Nathan MacKinnon down to other guys. Certainly, they're getting a bit healthier. I think to answer your question, yeah, I think this team's going to be okay. Specifically in the second half, I think there's going to be incredible value. I think the one thing we've noticed specifically without Nathan MacKinnon, this team can't score like it did maybe even 3 weeks ago. They've hit the under, I believe, in 7 straight games. So something to look at if you're looking at a game total the next time Colorado plays. I believe they play Montreal coming up tomorrow. So I would look at that. But to answer your question, definitely. I still think Colorado for my money, and maybe that's why there hasn't really been a reaction from books, is I think Colorado is still the definitive favorite to win the Stanley Cup. They're that damn good.
Yeah, and again, I'm not a hockey expert, but from just an analysis standpoint of teams, usually the team that wins the Stanley Cup is not very highly motivated early the next season. Like they're just like, hey, we just did this. Like, we're good. Let's just coast, get to the playoffs, and then we'll figure things out there. So I'm not surprised at all that it's been a sleepy start, and of course the injuries don't help. Speaking of not sleepy starts, and we'll get to the Rangers in a minute, but I think the story of this season, and it's funny because I had 2 friends on different sides of the aisle of this team back east, is the New Jersey Devils. I don't think anyone expected what we're seeing from this Devils team. And again, I don't watch them on a daily basis. I have no idea why they're playing this well. So Nick, please enlighten me. The Devils are a first place team right now in the East, and it's pretty remarkable how short their odds are to win the Stanley Cup considering where they were during the preseason.
Yeah, it really is remarkable. I think that the latest number I saw was plus 1,300. The question I think you're getting at, are they contenders? Are they pretenders? I'm probably somewhere in the middle on the New Jersey Devils, and it's more specific to maybe the goaltending. Now, I fully comprehend, with all due respect, Lauren, Colorado won the Stanley Cup with pedestrian goaltending and Darcy Kuemper. Like, it was just okay. We all know that. Yeah. The numbers speak for themselves. So I think that's my biggest wonder with New Jersey here in the last 50-some-odd games of the regular season. Vitek Vanacek's been an excellent story. Mackenzie Blackwood back in the mix after a knee injury. Can they, keep things calm in between the pipes, defensively speaking, too? The biggest story for me has been the evolution of Jack Hughes the last couple of years. He's been phenomenal this year. Dougie Hamilton's had a great bounce-back season. They're a puck possession darling. Like, everything has gone in the direction of the New Jersey Devils. Now I just wonder about this team if it's time to start fading them. They've dropped 5 in a row. A bunch of their big boys like Hischier and Bratt have been pointless in the last little while. I think there's going to be a bit of regression. Having said that, I do think the Devils will make the Stanley Cup playoffs. I do not think they're a contender, though. I think when you stack them up against the Tampas, the Carolinas, even the Rangers, even the Boston Bruins and others, I just don't know if they can beat them in a 7-game series.
Yeah, one team that is a Stanley Cup contender, the Boston Bruins, because they are basically 7-8 points ahead of any other team in the National Hockey League this season. They've only lost 6 games and only 4 in regulation, 2 in overtime. What is it about this Boston Bruins team? Because they have been red hot all season, all gas, no breaks.
Yeah, it makes no sense, does it really? Because a lot of people were wondering if this was going to be the year that there's a drop-off, significant drop-off with the Boston Bruins, right? You enter the year without Brad Marchand, Charlie McAvoy, a bunch of other guys were banged up, and they didn't miss a beat. Like, Linus Ullmark has been the incredible story in between the pipes. The team defense has been unbelievable. And Jim Montgomery, like, you talk about the offseason moves, and they elected to move on from Bruce Cassidy. Look what he's doing with the Vegas Golden Knights, right? But Montgomery's done an exceptional job early on. it really feels sort of like a last dance with Patrice Bergeron. Now, I could be wrong. I mean, I still think he's got plenty of game, and he's proven that through the early part of the season. Even David Krejci come back. Like, it has that feel to this Boston team. And to me, they have to be, if not the biggest surprise, the top three in terms of biggest surprises, because I thought they would be a playoff team, but I thought they were going to pace themselves and try to buy time until their injured guys came back. But from the get-go, they just been an automatic lock every night. And we saw that again last night, just beating up the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
All right,
wild.
Let's get to my Rangers, because I think, I don't want to say disrespect, Nick, but they're the 6th favorite in the East right now, and they were in the conference finals last year. I mean, is there a buy? And they've won 7 in a row, so it's hard to say buy low. But they're still the 6th favorite in the East, plus 850 right now. To me, that feels like a price that I could still get a little bit of value on.
Definitely. And I think, considering what I expect ahead for the New York Rangers, I do expect him to be a big time player for Patrick Kane leading into the deadline. Like, I do think they're going big game hunting. And if you add a piece like Patrick Kane or even a Bo Horvat, like, I do think the Rangers understand and comprehend. We have Igor Shesterkin. Like, to me, that's been the big story of this win streak. He's found his game again, coming off that Vezina last season. You have Adam Fox. Like, you have the pieces to win a Stanley Cup. So why not go over the top? Go all in.
Yeah.
We know who the owner is. We know who the GM is. Like, I think it's ready. It's go time here for the Rangers. So I think, along the lines of your question, I do think the value is there, where maybe 2 months down the line, when they execute that big time move, it's not going to be there. But yeah, this has been a big story the last little while, right? Because Rangers fans were asking for Gerard Gallant's head. Now, all of a sudden, they've won 7 in a row. The team defense is locked in. The kid line's back together, and the depth scoring is there. And they're doing most of this, by the way, without Chris Kreider. He's been a big-time regression candidate, and he's hit so far, scoring 51 goals last year. I think he's on pace for around like 33 or 34. Nothing to sneeze at, but he's dropped off, I should say, significantly, and they haven't skipped a beat the last little while.
I mean, you look at the Rangers, they were basically under 500 before this 7-game win streak. They had a slow start to the season. I know there's quite a few games on the slate tonight. Do you have any best bets for us? 8 games on the slate tonight. Math.
Yeah, you got it right. You got it. The one I would bring up is probably Calgary and San Jose. Number one, they just played on Sunday. Calgary beat San Jose 5-2. So I'm going to look at the game line, in regulation, I should say, the 60-minute line in that game, and pound the Calgary Flames. I think they have to take advantage of their schedule the next little while. I think San Jose is an inferior opponent, and the fact that they just did it 2 days ago, I think there's a bit of value in taking Calgary in the 60-minute line tonight against San Jose.
I love it. Nick, thank you so much for coming on the show. We love having hockey talk, and it's good to see you. Good to see your face. Last time, Jared, I saw Nick, he had a giant ass mustache on his face, but he decided to let the rest of the beard grow out too, huh? What went into that decision?
That's a good call.
Well, as you know, you got to be on brand, the Golden Muzzy. I knew I was doing a YouTube special. I wanted to show up Lauren Jabara, so I did it. I just went all in on it. Why not?
It's not easy to show up Lauren Jabara. I try to do it every day, and I usually fail miserably, Nick.
I think I was successful in it, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was a thick. I mean, it was there. It was definitely.
It was like Miles Teller and Top Gun kind of vibe, or was it like porn star vibes? Was it even worse than Miles Teller?
I would say more
Miles can pull it off. Miles can pull it off. Not everyone can pull it off. Like, I don't think I'd be able to pull it off. Like, honestly, like, look at that. I don't think I'd.
Jared never.
You never know.
No,
it's very hip. It's very in these days, guys.
It is very hip, but the beard. I feel like the beard gives me superpowers, and I don't want to mess with that right now. So we're not going to mess with it.
Oh, Nick, thank you so much for coming on. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at the Golden Muzzy. I'm sure we'll be talking to you throughout the NHL season. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
Peace. You can catch him. He's the co-host of NHL Fantasy on Ice, host of Leafs Morning Take on the Nation Network, and writer for the Leafs Nation and Daily Faceoff Fantasy. So make sure to check that out. All right. NHL. Back to college football. Well, not back to. Transitioning to college football. We have 2 bowl games going on today. This is day 6 of a 19-day stretch with nothing but football. So you love to see it. We have 2 games going on today. One of them being the Potato Bowl on the blue turf, and the other one being the Boca Raton Bowl between Liberty and Toledo. Dealer's choice, Jared. Who do you want to talk about first?
You must be happier than a pig in shit today. We get all this hockey talk, and people in the chat are loving It's someone just said, Joseph Gomez, no one can show up Lauren Jabbar. Have you seen the hair? Luxurious hair.
Oh wow!
Have
I
you
don't know how
have you
luxurious
gotten
it's
that
looking
compliment
today,
before?
guys, but
Luxurious?
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank
I mean,
you.
listen, you've got a lot of fans in Pickswise Nation. They don't like me unless I'm winning. They like you no matter what. So that's good. That's a good.
It's not true.
That's,
It's not
that's
true.
good. Oh,
Um,
it's true. Let's
dealer's
go in
choice.
chronological
Okay.
order.
Okay.
We'll go
Let's do it.
chronological order. I think it's a noon Pacific kick over on the Smurf turf there in Boise. Shout out Tim Murray, by the way. He's actually in Boise today calling the game on radio.
Nice.
Freezing his ass off. It was funny because he was talking about Christmas plans with his family. We were chatting the other day, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm taking the family to Boise for the Potato Bowl." hey, have fun over there in Boise. I hope Tim's staying more today. Interesting game. So Eastern Michigan, the MAC is a very polarizing conference. So Miami of Ohio covered in the Bahamas Bowl. They didn't win, but they covered against UAB. And now we get our second look here with Eastern Michigan. And I think Eastern Michigan's actually a pretty decent squad. Chris Creighton, 3-1, the head coach, 3-1 against the spread in bowl games, but they've never won a bowl game during his tenure. 0-4 straight up. So again, the MAC is usually an underdog because the MAC kind of stinks. But I do think there is a little bit of
fun fact about this, they haven't won a bowl game since beating San Jose State in the California Bowl back in 1987. So this might be a little bit of a revenge game for them, just saying.
None of the players on this team was even alive.
Actually, we're alive. We're even alive. But we love
even alive for
the storyline. You love making a storyline out of nothing. You know what I mean?
The very prestigious 1987 California Bowl was probably a barn burner. No, I was 1 year old.
Wow.
Kudos to me for that, for being the oldest one on the call today. All right, San Jose State is they're a very interesting team because talent-wise, they were on pace to basically win their division in the Mountain West. And then that terrible, terrible accident happened with their running back who was killed in a bus accident. And then from there, they kind of fell off the map a little bit emotionally. They lost a couple of games. They did beat Hawaii down the stretch. And they're a team that has a lot of talent, but I don't know what their mindset is going to be in this game. But I can tell you this. There is one player on their team that has a lot to play for, and his name is Elijah Cooks. He is a senior wide receiver. He, as it stands right now, is kind of a fringe draft player. Like he's like in the top 80 of receivers right now, of top 80 of his class. So I don't know if he's going to get drafted. I would lean to the no. But over the last 3 games, it's obvious, it's 4 games really, that San Jose State's trying to push to improve his draft stock. Because of the 10 touchdowns he has scored this season, 7 of them are in the last 4 games. 5 of them in the last 2 games. He had a 3-touchdown game against Utah State, and the temperatures in that game in, I don't know where Utah State plays, some ridiculous town in Utah, were in like the teens. So I think Ogden, Utah is where they play. But so this game being in Boise, the weather's going to be chilly, not like freezing, but cold. I think in the 20s, 30s-ish, and a little bit of light snow. But I think Elijah Cooks is going to have a big game. And Eastern Michigan's pass defense is slightly below average, but that's not the handicap here. The handicap here is the Aztecs like to throw the ball. Chevin Cordero is a good quarterback. He's had a really good year. And again, the draft stock is where you're getting value on this number. The sports books are not taking into account that Elijah Cooks right now is a fringe draft pick, and he needs to do everything possible to put good stuff on tape for his draft status. And the coaching staff knows that. And clearly over the last 4 games, they have been force-feeding him the ball. He's had 17 catches in 2 games. So here's how we're going to play. We're going to go anytime touchdown on Elijah Cooks, minus 135. We're going to go over 80.5 receiving yards. And then we're going to put a little sprinkle on his 2-touchdown prop at plus 380. I gave out Eastern Michigan plus 4.5 in my various bowl contests. I don't love the side in this game. I think the best angle in this game is Elijah Cook's prop numbers because of the
I love that.
the draft stock angle. I think that's the best betting angle in this game.
He loves the props, giving us some plus money props. And I will say, I actually do like a side in this spot, and it is San Jose State laying the points. It's moved to 3.5 since then. And I think a big part of this, right? San Jose State has some solid D linemen, 2 of who are future NFL draft picks. They might put heavy pressure on a guy like Powell, who doesn't really get out of the pocket. He doesn't run much. They rank 5th nationally with 36 sacks. And then I look at the Eagles. They rank 85th in pass protection. They gave up 30 sacks on the season for 223 yards in losses, which is wild. On top of that, I think that, they have a little bit more of a dynamic quarterback in Chevin Cordero, like you said, who, when given some time, this dude can do some damage. Both offenses ranked 95th and 96th nationally. So I look at the defenses. The Spartans have the better defense at this point. The 26th nationally, also 4th nationally in a turnover margin. Cordero's only turned the ball over 6 times the entire season. EMU defense is ranked 54th nationally. So I take the edge in the defense here, and I lay the points with San Jose State. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But it's only 3.5 here. I'm also going to tail you on some of your plus money props. Why not? It's bowl season, baby. Let's go. The other game we're looking at is Liberty taking on Toledo. That spread also set at 3.5. Toledo laying the points here. That total is 53.5. Boca Raton Bowl. Toledo ending the season on a high note. They won the MAC championship against Ohio, their 2nd league title since 2005. And Liberty had some really good wins this season over BYU, over Arkansas, 1-point loss to Wake. But they're on a 3-game losing skid to end the season. They didn't finish the season on as much of a high note. Who do you think takes advantage in this one?
Yeah, this is another intriguing handicap, and it kind of reminds me of, not really reminds me of yesterday's game, so I won't even make that comparison. This game is kind of, does Liberty give a shit? Because Hugh Freeze is gone. And not only that, you've got a boatload of coaching. Like, listen to the coaching changes in this game for Liberty. So Hugh Freeze left for Auburn. The co-defensive coordinator, Josh Aldridge, is going to be the interim head coach in this game. The new head coach of Liberty, Jamie Chadwell, who they hired from Coastal Carolina, is also going to be, I think, in the booth watching. So you've got head coach gone, interim head coach on the sidelines, new head coach watching from above, like, the CEO grading out who he's going to keep and who he's not going to keep. Only 6 coaches that were on the staff this year are in their current position for this game. You also have 4 coaches moving from a booth analyst role to an on-field position coach role. They lose both primary play callers, Hugh Freeze and the quarterback coach, Ken Austin. So I don't even know who's going to call plays in this game for Liberty. Now, the flip side to that is, well, how does Toledo's defense prepare for that? Because how do you know what Liberty is going to do offensively? But then really what it is, I just don't see the organization, the efficiency, and that's kind of what Liberty's offense is known for with Hugh Freeze. Like, he's a gifted offensive mind, and he's really put this offense in some really good spots, not only this year, but during his tenure with Liberty. The other wrinkle to this game is Toledo's never won a bowl game. They're 4 straight losses, for Jason Candle, and everyone on this Toledo team is winless in bowl games. They go a lot because they play in the MAC and they've been really good. They won the MAC championship, by the way, a very dominating performance over Ohio. And their quarterback Daquan Finn should be healthy for this game, which is a plus. But my point is, I think the motivation is squarely on Toledo's side. They've never won a bowl game. At least this particular roster has never won a bowl game. Liberty's been to a bowl multiple times. They've won 3 straight. Last year, they blew out Eastern Michigan. Malik Willis went absolutely bananas. So there's a lot of experience for victories in this Liberty team. So I don't know how excited they're going to be without their head coach, with their offensive coordinator and their play calling in disarray, how up they're going to be for this game, just hanging out in Boca for the week. Meanwhile, I think Toledo is going to be very up for this game, and I think they are going to want to get their head coach, Jason Candle, a win because he's lost 4 straight bowl games. So I think the motivational angle to me, especially with Toledo's defense being a top 25 EPA per play unit, I think the motivation clearly in favor of the Rockets. And I think that's my only bet for this game. I didn't see a prop angle that I loved. So I'll just stick with my original gut and lay 3.5 with Toledo.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that too, because the Rockets have the advantage right now. I think it's skill positions. Liberty really needs to hold on to the football. They have the fourth most giveaways, 15 interceptions, 11 fumbles on the season. And ball security is going to be big against a Toledo team that led the MAC with 12 picks and top 15 nationally in total and passing defense. So I'm right there with you. I'm laying the points with Toledo. Look at us. Kind of being on the same page today. You love to see it. Before we get into
Sure.
our best bets
Why
of the
not?
day, let's bet it, presented by our friends at Superbook Sports. Can you beat Vegas this football season? Superbook gives you the chance every week to go head to head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no one across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of traders in the business at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, some of the best odds boosts and promo bets in the country. If you're in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Nevada, New Jersey, or Tennessee, download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas. From superbook.com to pickswise.com. 3-star plays. Gerard, do we got any today on the site?
Stephen Hall, Toledo.
Wow.
And Ricky Diamond's got a great piece on also college football bowl bets. He does have Eastern Michigan and Toledo in there, and then a prop on the Toledo game, which the only reason that I don't like it is because Russian quarterback props in college football scare the crap out of me because you get negative on a sack. But I like the angle that he gives. So check it out. There's an article right now posted on Pickswise.com. And my early birds column is also up. It's been up since Sunday night. You're not getting any value on the Dallas number anymore, but there's 2 other games that are still bettable. One of them is going to take place on Thursday with my Jets. Big Jets game this week.
Love it.
Basically the playoffs this week for the Jets. If they lose, they're done, and I'm going to write them off. But if they beat the Jags at home, somehow, some way, maybe there's a hope for us.
And the Jags are coming off a big win too, so this could be a good letdown spot for the Jags and a good
game.
win spot for the Jets. All right, our best bets of the day. Tell me about yours.
Yeah, I went back and forth on which of these Cooks props to give out. I think the safest one is the touchdown prop. Again, Elijah Cooks, San Jose State senior wide receiver, prepping for the NFL draft. Right now, I would say he's not going to be drafted, but he's probably an undrafted free agent type of upside player because he's got the body type that the NFL looks for. 6'4", big, rangy, can run really good red zone routes, and he scored 10 touchdowns this year, 7 in the last 4 games. Again, San Jose State, the coaching staff knows he's trying to improve his draft stock. He is the best offensive player that the Aztecs have. They are going to, not the Aztecs, the Spartans, excuse me. I got my San Jose State, San Diego State wrong.
San Diego State,
are going to be San Diego, Jose, whatever, California. They are going to be force feeding him the ball in the red zone. And I'll be honest, I think the 2 touchdown prop, even if you want to get nuts and go 3 touchdowns, again, he just had a 3 touchdown game against Utah State 3 weeks ago. So there's precedent there. And I think because of the draft angle, this has been a very profitable and very sharp angle for us over the years betting these bowl props because the number doesn't take that into account. The number just takes your numbers from the year and comes up with a derivative and boom, spits out what the prop number should be. So I think we're getting an edge here because the fact that Elijah Cooks is fighting for his NFL life on the field today. And that's why we are going to go prop heavy on Elijah Cooks. But the official play of the day is touchdown. I laid 35 cents here. I would lay up to probably 50 or 60 cents. I would be surprised if he doesn't get at least 1 today in the end zone.
Yeah, I love it. My best bet, we just talked about it. It's Toledo laying the 3.5 points. Rockets have the the advantage in skill positions. I just think they have the better defense. I don't know. Scroll up. You can listen to I literally just said every single thing about why I like Toledo about 30 seconds ago, 2 minutes ago. But yeah, Liberty needs to hold on to the football. Toledo needs to find a way to score. They have a 32 point per game average. They blew teams out at the beginning of the season, but cooled off the last little bit of the season. They've only scored over 30 points in 1 of their last 6 games. They're 3-3 during that stretch. So they have to put the pieces. They have the pieces to be able to push the ball. DeQuan Fun, Jacquez Stewart, but they just need to take advantage. And also, I think they're really good at forcing turnovers. Liberty is really good at turning over the ball, and I think that could be a big advantage for Toledo here too. So I like Toledo. Lay in the 3.5 points. Give us a little action on this Tuesday. You love to see it.
Yeah, we got 2 MAC games today. Yep, Toledo and Eastern Michigan.
You love to see it. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. That's Jared Smith. I'm Lauren Jabara. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.